Okay, and welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time in Victoria 3, where we're trying to finish up this Prussia run. I think it's going to take at least 2 more, if not 3 more parts, just because of how slow it runs near the end of the game. Pretty much from a development standpoint, we're actually probably mostly done. We are trying to produce some airplanes, both for export and local production. Most of it's getting exported, apparently. Yeah. Swap another one over. Yeah, it's not super profitable, but it at least is raising demand a little bit. And we're also sort of cornering the market here on airplanes. Kind of hoping that other people start buying it, because Pops do consume it. It's a little hard to force it into their market, I suppose. So one way to do that is, hey, Great Britain, you want some planes? Go, good transfer. Airplane. Minimum 10. Negative 50 because not interested in it. Just pick some planes. Am I desperate enough to pay them to take some planes? Probably not. Sure, we'll take the GVG gamble. Oh, they accept it. Okay, so they're buying some of our planes. Well, technically, I am selling them some of my planes. We're buying it in our market, selling to their market. Which now means there's planes in their market, which now means there's demand for planes in their market. Apparently they're trying to re-export my planes. Okay. Well, I think I've put enough on the world market. At this point, yeah, I've put enough on the world market, either directly by selling it or by exporting it to the British and the British re-exporting it. I think we don't need more planes for a bit. Until someone else starts demanding it. Sadly, I think planes from primarily an army good. Yes, the infantry, or yes, the troops do use it, but I don't think if I swap reconnaissance on here, I don't think this is going to magically start ending to... Yeah. Aeroplanes during mobilization. I don't believe they use any airplanes during peace. It's the problem. Oh, and I can upgrade from squad. Oh no, I can upgrade to squad, which is going to add a radio requirement. Sure. Modernize the army if possible. Some of these army units might not be upgrading because it's the... Yeah, okay, that was what was going on there. It's the conscripts that are in date. So that probably didn't magically really do anything to the radios. Yeah, no real change in the radios. Oh, and I am no longer the only person exporting radios. I'm the biggest person exporting radios. But I'm not the only pressing exporting radios. Battleships. And then battleships we can actually modernize into. So that will actually change up our consumption a little bit. Dreadnoughts use 666, 2 radios. Battleships add basically 50% more radios, 33% more everything else. So let's do that. Oh, no, I haven't declared interest everywhere. I should be doing that. That'll give us a little bit more trade advantage when exporting certain people. And we previously didn't have proper... Well, I was about to say, it gives us a little more advantage, but remember we've got external trade, which removes that penalty. So now it probably just means I'm getting more notification spam, which is fine. 24.5. Yeah, we're getting back up. I think our all-time high was 24.8. Wouldn't be surprised if we get there pretty soon. We're in the United States of Europe and Chile is disbanded. Why? Well, they're willing just to give me the investment rights again, so we'll just offer it. Work the September Convention. What was that, like 6 weeks early or something? Yeah, we're just waiting for the game sort of to finish out. A lot of what we're doing is kind of just letting the capitalists build up the nation, rearrange who owns what. Because that's going to be the most reliable way to bring up the GDP at this point, I think, is try to transition to more and more capitalist ownership. As we're starting to reach the point where, yeah, we can't really reduce the size of the lower strata anymore. So, other than a little bit of more transition of peasants and unemployed to, and at this point, a little bit more is like, yeah, you can build like 10 workplaces and they have jobs. So at this point, it's just moving people from working to owning or working the ownership buildings. which is still a pretty large standard of living jump, right? People in here, 62, 38, 27, 28-ish, right? So we're looking at the sort of zone like, okay, yeah, if we can move people to ownership, working the ownership buildings, their standard of livings rise. Again, same here. In fact, there's no lower class people in manor houses, right? It's just aristocrats, which are not as wealthy as the capitalists. And the clergy, which are apparently wealthier than the a little bit wealthier than the bureaucrats, not by much. They're significantly wealthier than the clerks. And then we have the Carpathian Petroleum Company here. Clerks here aren't particularly wealthy, apparently. So, average standard of living, because it's 50-50 here, right? The average standard of living is dominated by the capitalists. Weirdly, I might actually profit from, on the urban centers, turning down or turning off the public transport. It depends. That way the urban center versus railroads can specialize a little bit better. So here's an example where it wouldn't necessarily make sense because the the transport's more valuable than the services. But I think there's definitely places where we have it the other way around. Yeah, here's an example of the other way around. Where if I made it stop making transport, I'd probably make more services because the services are more valuable than the transport needs. Oh, what is hardwood versus regular wood? It'd be a little bit of an improvement to do a little swapping. Okay, we'll do a little bit of swapping then. Oh, maybe I've done the swap? I haven't quite done the swap, no. Probably don't want to swap nationwide. So, from this standpoint, I believe the highest efficiency ones is the extremes here. You either want it making just softwood or just making hardwood, or favoring hardwood production. The middle one here is a little bit worse. As you can see, it's 25 to 10 instead of 40 to 20. But then you need the hardwood demand to warrant swapping. So that's why you see I tend to do it building by building rather than entire sector to one. And yeah, some of these places I'm swapping over, I know I'm basically like, hey, swap over, and it's like, with what people? Okay, do a little bit more. -4. -4, okay, so that's about right. Let's drop the export tariffs on merchant marines. Apparently my ports have built up enough that we now produce more than trade centers consume. So I could now build aircraft carriers. That actually might be a way to use up airplanes during peacetime. Didn't think about that. Sure. Try building up some airplanes. Or building up some Navy. Room to build hulls. Okay, so our job seekers, please. There we go. Okay, that's going to get built pretty quickly. And then that will consume some airplanes. Not really heavily leaning into the airplanes there, just a little bit. 20 set of carriers, so 160 airplanes being consumed by the carriers if they all hire up. Little radical modernizing. Sure. Oh. Yep, the trade unions have gone fascist. Corporate state, militarized police, outlawed dissent, mass conscription, ethno-state, single-party state. To the highest standards. So I suppose we could swap to militarized police. How does that compare? Minus 50, 25 from movements. Adds mortality and reduces radicalization for radicalism for all the bad statuses, which we don't have. So other than that would increase the power of the armed forces, I suppose. Go single party state. Once multiple new laws can we unlock a single party state. Command economy. Suppose that would be one way to get off the laissez-faire. I really don't think we need that. To be fair, I'm probably just going to let the time check, because I don't think this is really, I don't think there's anything really worth doing. But we do have a couple states that didn't have any power. So let's actually get the power built in those states. Oh, and when I wasn't looking, our standard of living jumped to 25.5. Nice. Presumably, if everything goes according to plan, it will keep going up. But yeah, this is one of the reasons we're not able to go communist at this point. Is we're a little too high standard of living for people to accept the risk of going communist. Upending the proverbial upending the proverbial apple cart and all that. Yeah, we'll take paper mill throughput for a while. Yes, and we have the SPD and the right, and those are the parties. So I suppose it wouldn't be the largest stretch to go single party state, because, you know, they'd only be losing one party. Strongly opposed to Council Republic, yeah. It's the same with corporatist. Yeah. Those that power plant's done, so in theory I should now be able to smack that button. And if we get out of the lumber mills for a moment. So many places, so many lumber mills, yes. It's at U to electric. We can electrify, or do flash freezing everywhere. Electric fences everywhere. Refrigerator rail cars everywhere. Modern battlefield tactics, that's nice. Kill ray offense is probably worth doing if we actually get into a fight. And so as we're trying to push down the mobile infantry, then we can do the mechanized stuff to actually produce tanks, for sure. Battlefleet tactics. Big change there is extra morale loss reduction and more morale damage. I was going to assume actually recruiting, or I was going to assume that it was not what I thought it was, apparently. I was assuming it was recruit speed, but it wasn't. Oops, no, don't do airplanes everywhere. Don't need that many airplanes. Assembly lines, arcades, electric street lights, and film art. And then we can cycle for a day, and then we can see how much electricity is short in places, or cycle for a week, and we can see how much electricity is short in places. And then we can build that. Now that everything's properly on electricity. Actually, at that point, you are probably... No, never mind. Well, the problem is it's 149 levels, right? So if we weren't on... if we owned it, we'd probably downsize it. Downsize and swap. But, okay. Where was it? Okay, back to making electricity. Yeah, so like 100 levels here to make 5,000. You can see 100 is almost twice at 149, so it's almost at the point where it would have been a little better just to do swap to the oil run ones. But it doesn't. Actually, let's do there. Okay. So Sicily is one of the places that need electrification that wasn't. And of course, we're queuing up so much that we actually now control a decent construction queue. So it isn't super surprising. I say it's easy, man, like you, a quarter of the queue, because everyone lost fair. It's so much better than these build in 10 weeks instead of 20. The change they made a couple patches ago, which dropped the construction costs on those by half, was nice. Granted, that was after a patch where they dropped the productivity of the building by half, so it was kind of needed. That they do. If they do one, they need to do the other. Yeah, and now that well, we have some unemployed in some places. Now, as long as we're patient, I think the standard of living will just generally rise as all the workplaces start to compete with each other to retain their workforce, and to some degree compete with the ownership buildings, needing more people to work them as well. GDP per capita is just short of 11, and is the best in the world because right now we don't have any nations that are actually sort of cheating, which makes sense. Okay. Sometimes you'll get nations where they have got like no people working for various reasons. It's just all government economy, so their GDP is kind of broken. We don't have any right now in this run. And yeah, this is probably a burn rate that if the game were to go on for another 100 years, this would not be an acceptable burn rate from the deficit standpoint. But the game isn't going to go over another 100 years. The game ends in, like, 10, so we can just burn at this rate. It'll be fine. Plus, if I was really worried, we could raise taxes. The taxes are on minimum taxes right now. By minimum, I literally mean minimum. There is no way I could... Well, I could change the tax law. If I change the tax law, then we could actually lower it, but... Like, I think consumption taxes would be 0 with the current tax system we're running on, but... Well, obviously, that would not work. We'd have to have some taxes. Yeah, bit of a shame that you can't run like guaranteed liberties and National Guard at the same time. It would be nice to have the drought, flood, wildfire, extreme winds reductions, but you're not allowed to do that, so we're not. We get mobile warfare doctrine on that, tank production, mechanized infantry, heavy tanks, and light tanks, all of which I think consume armor. Yeah, you consume 3. Okay, electrification is almost done. So I could revisit once it's actually done to make sure the electrification worked completely. Consumed by pumps of all wealth levels for heating, because apparently electric heating is a thing in the game. What is the default? Fabric's the second, coal, oil, electricity, yep. I wonder what the pops are actually consuming balance-wise, from their needs standpoint for that need. Give me to Clark. Consumption. Services is the biggest one. That's pretty believable. Standard limit 25. Groceries. Wonder if that's coming mostly from luxury need at 25. Probably is. Then let's scroll down to the heating needs. They're going to be pretty far down because they're competing with each other, and I think they go static after a certain point. So oil is... yeah, oil's probably it. So it's oil, coal. Is this guy consuming any electricity? Presumably. There, it's the electricity. 0.5% of their income is being spent on electricity in this case. So they're spending a little bit more on coal and oil. So there's maybe an argument that I could try to push electricity a little bit harder, just try to swap into the electricity, but it's not worth the effort, I think. And then fabric and wood further down. So we have started to transfer them off of fabric and wood. A little surprising, actually, with the fabric, because the fabric's so cheap, but... there are basically no peasants left. Okay. There are still some unemployed. Though, that's like, hey, I'm gonna go build... what, that'd be... 15. And as I'm talking about it, it's dropped to 14. But there's basically 14 art academies that would be employed from that number of people, so it's barely any. Electricity. How does electricity needs look? Scroll back up to the top. Apparently I screwed up, and one place still has a lot of need. Is it a hiring issue here? It's not a hiring issue here. Okay. So we're going to pause, and we're going to queue up the 40 levels at once. And then you want 5. You're not owned by me, which is probably why you're not working very well. We'll put 2 in there, 2 in there, 1 there, 1 there. So on and so forth. Okay. Yes, half our population is loyalists, so basically don't need to be worried about any of the local movements getting uppity. Oh, it's the wildfire. I'm like, is France, like, in France Commune apparently in a constant war with the Paris Commune? The answer is no, they just have wildfire going. Well, at some point I watched a video on the very, very straight coast here. Apparently, IRL, that coastline is in fact actually that straight. But it's man-made. So I think it's like this triangle here. Used to be a swamp. And the French did a major afforestation project to like sort of stabilize the swamp and make it like a usable tree plantation, basically. And the side effect of that, of the trees, is it made a very... because the edge of the plantation's very... for practical purposes, on like a geologic standpoint, very straight. It's man-made, after all. And the natural pattern is normally the sea would blow the sand up and along the coast here. So normally it'd sort of be a little bit more curved in this IRL, if there wasn't that man-made afforestation project. And it makes like this really large man-made dunes, because the forest literally stabilizes the dunes and keeps it from moving inward. But yeah, the random, like, really straight coastline, it's man-made. It wouldn't naturally exist, and if you actually believe that afforestation project actually starts during the time period of this game, is sort of the Napoleonic era, late sort of French era, in the Victorian era. So, like, if you see any games where that coastline is like this laser straight, in an earlier time period, yeah, it wasn't that straight back then, because this was the time period that made it that straight. Now, that's perfectly fine, and people don't track historical borders usually, especially geologic borders like that. Things I'm noticing and can comment on why I'm waiting for the game to do its thing. Apparently, we have a bureaucracy problem. Let's solve that. A couple different ways to solve that. Probably the best solution is a bunch of government admin where our taxation capacity is lacking. That way we get rewarded for solving multiple problems at once. Usually it's not worth trying to collect all the taxes in a place, unless you're also comboing it with solving a bureaucracy problem, is usually the way it is. It's a little bit different in Europe because you're so close to getting 100% of the taxes anyway that sometimes it's worth doing it the other way around, where you solve the taxation capacity problem and then find something to spend the bureaucracy on. But like if you're China or something, no. If you're China, if you're India, if you're Japan, bureaucracy, and then only fix the taxation capacity if you do both at the same time. What I wonder is, okay, it doesn't quite show in here. A big hunk of, I think it's the Amsterdam state on this lake here is actually reclaimed land. Again, another thing that was reclaimed during, was made, man-made place that's made during this game. I think the Netherlands even has a journal entry associated with the land reclamation projects. Okay, apparently not quite enough government admin there. There we go. Okay, that should solve it. And then we have railway shortages some places. To be fair, the private queue might be already solving this, but my queue is empty, so I'm just going to solve it now because I'm thinking about it. There we go. Yeah, 25.8. We're at the high point of our standard living graph. Sadly, we've kind of reached the point with the GDP where line isn't really going up very much more anymore, but we're doing our best. Nope. Okay, we can go on to mobile armor. And apparently we have airplane shortage, so we could actually use a little bit more airplane, apparently. Which is, if I go find it, fairly easy to fix. So we come into automotive, we don't obviously... 100 levels is too many. Just too many. Oh, maybe that's what I gotta do. It's gonna have to be 100, okay. 87's the lowest. So airplanes go from being incredibly expensive to we make too many. Hopefully the private consumption picks up a bit. And what's the world market on? Yeah, we're the only exporter of the airplane. In fact, we're such a major exporter, I'm just gonna like max up subvention for export. As I'm very desperately trying to shove it into other countries. I suppose going on to other tasks. No, that's the next tech. Mobile armor is the next tech. 18 months out. So it's going to be like mobile armor, and then we're going to work on these three, and then we're going to have the whole tech tree done. It's like a year and a half each? Okay. So 4 techs, year and a half. About 6 years? Yeah, we should get all the techs before the end of the game. I wonder what's going wrong in South Tyrol. Apparently even some starving people in South Tyrol for some reason. Interesting. State construction efficiency mal, so it's probably not getting picked very frequently for construction. So it's probably out of all the places the most underbuilt of the overbuilt places in the country. Yeah. Oh, and the British are now importing my planes. That's, well, they're not importing enough, but they're importing some. Well, apparently they built up a local market for them. Although that local market's probably still inundated with them. Max subvention for export of theirs as well. Yeah. Assume less than one unit of it. Yeah, that's fair. I was very much thinking, hey, we monopolize the world market for export of airplanes. We might find another winner like cars and radios and telephones. Except, apparently most of the world is too backwards to understand what an airplane is, so that didn't work. We have these newfangled flying machines, and the world isn't quite ready for them. Oh, I thought I'd queued 100 or another 10 of those. Okay. Job seekers, where's the most place? Job seekers, that is a boat place. Special Lake Holstein. Okay, we'll queue up 10 more light ships there. And yeah, basically pass the time, watch the GDP go up. Well, watching the population number go up mostly. I suppose the GDP isn't really rising. Well, the GDPC isn't really rising. Construction efficiency in the central provinces. British Raj, okay. So yeah, we're probably at the point where we're building other people's stuff because there's nothing to build in our country. Oh, well, I'm wrong. West Slovak, North Rhine is just like foreign country, foreign country. A couple things in ours. Foreign country, foreign country, foreign country. Yeah. You know, a bunch of food industries, a bunch of electric industries. That's fair. Apparently, we need all those food industries. We don't. It's just the construction queuing. Like, we got money. Let's throw it at a building that's going to get deleted over time. Yeah. %10 chance he dies. Eh. Who cares if he dies? You can enjoy the spectacle. I don't think he died. Yeah, event spam like that is annoying. Nope, 25.9. Standard of living still... Granted, at this point, it's glacial. Because really we're kind of trying to raise the wage, right, is how we get the standard of living up at this point. Or we transition people over to being honor class. Because again, I don't think we can suppress the lower class without just totally giving up on it being a GDP producing building and moving to an owner building. Yeah. You know what? We're basically out of peasants. We're basically out of unemployed. And I don't think we've got any real... Oh, no, the census data we can look. Don't think we've got any... workforce ratio. Actually, apparently wrong. Apparently we still got 8% of the population can still become workers that are not already employed. Which is a surprisingly large amount. I guess that workforce ratio change is just glacial. Or, well, maybe it's glacial at standard living 25.9. It's... Because I think it corrects by, like, the birth or the death rate or something like that is what drives it. Like, if you're under your workforce ratio, every new person born is a worker, or if you're... the same thing, it's like, oh, if everyone when it dies, it's everyone, it's a dependent set or something like that. So, as you get the standard of living higher and both of those get driven to the floor, the workforce ratio doesn't change very fast. But yeah, we're definitely not, from a standard living standpoint, we're definitely not in the optimal pop growth window. We're getting half percentile growth. I remember optimal is something like 2%. So yeah, we're getting about fourth pop growth we could probably be getting, but we're standard living maxing, not GDP maxing. Apparently it might be at the point where it might be worth trying to build more. There is no state that has both sufficient infrastructure and workforce. Okay, well, one of those I can maybe solve. I can't solve both of those, I'm sorry. And you can see the private queues just decided, hey, East Bengal. You know what East Bengal needs? Because it's got 2 million job seekers? 72 railroads. Yep. Yeah. It decided that. It decided that. Okay, our own market. We're gonna put like 5, 5, just a couple of these. Okay. That should at least solve the infrastructure in our own country. Oh, well, at least that's hired up. I don't think it needs 23 more levels, but, you know, they're going to build it. Private queue does what the private queue does. What do you want? Back them in ongoing play. I definitely don't want regime change, no. I'm like, I'd annex them maybe, which is far too much infamy, I think. And probably too expensive, because I suspect I'd go join the other side, and probably the British get involved for something. Yeah, I'm just not going to go off. So where are we? Okay, we are first highest ranked, obviously. Japan would be number 4 if they got recognized. The French Commune are a puppet unless they're stuck at minor power. I'm surprised they're not allowed to be a major power. Well, there are something. They're stuck in minor for whatever reason. And then we got Russia, Mexico, Netherlands, British Raj. Oh, apparently the Great Qing got recognized at some point, I think. Oh, no, they're still in recognized major. Okay. I guess unrecognized majors go before... Well, obviously go before minors, but I still don't know, because I'm great power, there should be able to be a major power, but oh well. And yeah. When did they stop being a great power? 2000, okay. Oh, so if Canada was free, we set the prestige to such a point where Canada could be a great power. That's just how powerful Canada is. Oh, Canada. Canada, British Raj. We do have the prestige requirement so high that actually the Great Qing would no longer be a great power if they were recognized. They'd only be a major power. There's mobile armor. We'll do stormtroopers next. And then, yeah, in theory, we can start turning on the tank production. And to be fair, the tanks will actually be a pretty nice demand for going. Because we'll swap over the armies to the tank consumption. Oops, I should not have done you. Let's turn you off. Go do the other one. Do this one. It's like, why is supply so high? Because you slapped to make everything good, but yeah. Oh, interesting. Apparently we can't upgrade siege artillery to heavy tanks. I have an illegitimate government. Okay, because we had that split go on. Oh dear. As the game is basically telling me we cannot have a stable government. Because that's our highest stability government, apparently. Okay. Oh, we're in the middle of election. We'll see how it goes after the election. Yeah, looks like the Nazis are going to win the election. Left is not the Nazi party. Or the Nazi party. Okay. And we got some black shirts going about, of course. Enacted protected speech, has enacted guaranteed liberties, has law enforcement. It's like, yeah, no paramilitary forces running around, please. It's not going to stop them from winning, but at least minimize the damage. Reduction agitation. Kindly burn this light. And we're about to have an election result. Okay, now we've got a party that has actually got some legitimacy behind it. The Czech fascist. Okay. Well, when you elect authoritarians, you get an authoritarian government, is basically what my people are about to learn in this game. I'm surprised we're actually not consuming more tanks. Well, because we can't... Okay, that's part of it. Because we can't swap the siege artillery, the lancers, over to rolling around in tanks, apparently. We have to disband them, reband them, which I'm not going to bother doing. Right, the mechanized infantry only pull one tank each. There's chemical weapons spread to us. So either we have stormtroopers spreading or nothing spreading, I think. The looks of it. Stormtroopers spreading. Okay, so we swap over the flamethrowers. $246 buildings under construction in one location. I suspect the game has decided I need like 40 of something. There's 200 something buildings being built somewhere. 231 food industries. It presumably made sense when they queued that up. I just assume there's probably some, presumptions going on there with how the price is going to change that isn't maybe accurate. Just a little bit. Especially seeing as it isn't hired full because there isn't enough employees. Oh, 400,000 unemployed. Not sure where. Got 400. Oh no, I had. It's now back down to 4,000. Okay, very transient unemployment problem. Yes. More likely I have a real problem. A favored party. No. I'm not gonna use my obligation that way. And yeah, you can see we're reached the point where our GDP is actually declining. Probably due to slow and gradual transition to the owner class, and as a consequence, slow deindustrialization of the empire. And I think now we just got one tech left. I think it's just flamethrowers to go. Yeah. Which will suddenly start going real fast if someone else researched it as well. Yep, and that deindustrialization is definitely starting to settle in. We're not, like, getting less unemployed people. It's just the GDP per capita is going down, which means we're moving people to jobs that aren't making as much value. Oh, airplanes apparently went up in price a lot. I'm surprised about that. Did the world market finally decide they want planes? Not really. A little bit. Okay, next smallest one. Not in the tanks, onto aeroplanes, please. Well, also, apparently our plane producer is not making very many planes. Okay, I'm looking at the time, not to have this episode be longer, because I'm going to try to keep the Victoria 3 ones around about an hour. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be a part up tomorrow, because we're going to continue to record this. We may finish in the next part. Might not have enough time for an after-action report in that one, but we may finish in the next one. And then the part after that will be the after-action one if it takes a whole hour just to get the next 6 years. If you're watching on the Twitch, feel free to hang around. I'm literally just going to mute the mic, sip a little bit of tea, and get right back to recording after the part break here. So with that, wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part, and bye for now.